This should be the last video in my series on quadratic. So now advanced topics. So I realized, as you can tell by my coding window, I changed the font to 14. So maybe it's a little bit easier for you to read in YouTube. So I made that change. So going through comments, of course. So like any English paper, title, name, date, my quadratic, Mr. Rivera, December 2015, whatever, something to put your name. So when I go into the coding window, I know whose I'm looking at. I took away some of the advanced features so I could show them now. So when you see me do calculate, enter a value for A, 1, enter a value for B, 5, enter a value for C, 6, 2 real roots. That's all it's saying. I'm not having it solve it. If I put 1, 6, and 9, which I know is a double root. But how do you solve it? So that's what today's for, or this video, advanced features. So in terms of variable declaration, you can tell here, this is a variable that I need to declare. I called it myQuit for my exit function. When I want it to quit, I need the answer to be stored. So I use that. Dim A, B, C as integer. Well, that's where whatever they type for A, whatever number they type for B, whatever number they type for C has to be stored somewhere. Now, what about doing math, solving math, the quadratic? Well, I'm going to have two variables, one called answer 1, the other one called answer 2, because remember, I could get two answers, so I need to solve each of them with the quadratic. As double. Double just means it's very precise. It can go to a lot of decimal places. So I don't pick integer, which is a whole number. I use double, which decimals. Think about it that way. So now as I scroll down, let's take this first if function. Let's uncomment that. If b squared minus 4ac is greater than 0, basically if it's positive, you're going to have two answers. So here is the quadratic. One answer equals math dot round. I'm going to have to round it. Here is the quadratic. Negative b plus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a, comma 3. What's that comma 3 all about? That's rounding. Remember, outside of this whole parentheses, math round, do the whole quadratic, and round it to 3 decimal places. That's why it's there. Pay particular attention to all these parentheses. They're important. So negative b plus math square root b squared minus 4ac is all in its own set of parentheses, but negative b plus that is in its own set of parentheses. That's why I got this parentheses here to this one, because all of that goes in the numerator, divided by 2a, 2 times a, goes in the bottom, the denominator. Now, as you caught on, I did not mention in the second video, the star or the asterisk, shift 8, is multiplication. The caret is squared. So this is the same thing, b squared or b times b. It's the same mathematically. B squared or b times b, however you want to do it, but b squared minus 4ac. Now, why do I have answer 2? Because when there's two real roots, there's going to be two answers. So answer 2 equals math.round negative b minus. So think about the quadratic. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. So I need to do one for plus, get an answer, do one for minus. Everything else is the same, rounding it to 3 decimal places. And then how do I spit out? How do I say that output? Message box, the two answers are ampersand, answer 1. Undo that. So whatever the first answer is, I'm connecting it to the string. The two answers are, and notice this intentional space. So that'll say the two answers are space and then the number, and, quote, look how the word and has a space before it and after it, so it doesn't stick to the numbers. Connect that to the second answer, connect that to a period at the end. VB information is the yellow. You'll see what the VB information icon looks like. And then the title of my message box, answer. So when I run this, 1, 5, and 6 will give me 2 answers, 2 real roots. See, the 2 answers are -2, and there's a space before it and a space after it, so it's not stuck to the words, and -3, there's a space between the D and the negative sign, and then there's a period at the end. So that was all with this function. If I do 1, I believe it was 5 and 7. Oh, no real roots. The other way, 1, 7, and 5. 2 real roots. Goes to the same place, but now they're rounded. That's rounding to 3 decimal places. So that was that round function. So all of that is taken care of with this first if, when you know that there's 2 answers. Now, what if you know there's a double root, 1 answer? Well, I had the message box, but now I only have 1 answer. I'm doing answer 1, -b plus square root of b squared minus 4c. You might ask, what about -b minus? It's the same. So I don't need both of them. So pick answer 1 or answer 2. It's going to be the same, -b plus or -b minus. I'm going to get the same output. So whichever one of the two. And then message box, the answer is, look at that space again. Connect that to the answer with a period at the end. VB information, answer. And I know the test for that, a good one is 1, 6, and 9. Double root, I knew that. Here is the message box. This is VB information, this blue circle with the I. The answer is, there's a space after the S, then -3, and then a period. And here's the title of the message box, answer. That's what that line does. And that's what that prompt, here's that VB information. So if it's not greater than 0, that means positive. This means equal to 0. Well, then it has to be negative. That's the else. Message box, no real roots. There is no possible answer. And if. I don't have to put an else if it's negative, if it's less than 0. I don't have to. Computers are logical. If it's not positive, if it's not 0, it has to be negative. So I just close it with an else. You don't need an else if for less than 0. I close it with an end if. And notice this line. Now I put the focus on my exit. So now I can run through this whole program and I never use the mouse. What else could you might see? Well, all of my menu changes, check mark, soldier field, true. The other one's checked false. And if you didn't do it in hello, this is the line. This is the coding to load a picture from your bin file. So I have soldier field. I have all the stadium pictures in my bin file. So that's how I can use the ... If you don't know how to do that, ask. We've done that before. But something that was taught to me, how do you put nothing as an image? Right here, me.background image equals nothing. So when I run this and I pick soldier field and I want nothing, nothing gets loaded. That's what that line does. Most of this coding is all check marks. Other than that, as you go through, most of it is just the menu. The exits are still from hello. How do you save? Are you kidding me? That's just a message box. The big button right there. All of that is the calculate button. And then the variables. That's advanced topics. If you can do all of that, you have an A+. Have fun.